The following is a Cheeky Leprechaun production.
Pop culture is the entirety of ideas.
Me, Mario.
Let the bass kick.
I am the greatest.
Holy eggshell!
I am your father.
This is the Pop Culture Report with Dan O'Kelly.
Welcome to episode 2 of the Pop Culture Report. You've returned for more. Hey, good to see. Good to have you back. Thanks for tuning in to number 1. I'm assuming you did. And if you didn't, you can find it in the archives. It's simply one back from where you are now. It's not hard to find. I mean, you probably listened though last week, and if you did, you heard us talk about The Simpsons, and we got some great responses to it. People love hearing about The Simpsons. Because let's be honest, how many people's childhood involved The Simpsons? I would imagine most people. Unless you had those parents that were like, no, you can't watch The Simpsons. It's bad. It sets the wrong idea for young, impressionable minds. Well, feel bad for you if that was the case, because Simpsons is a bloody great show. But before we touch too much on the feedback we got for last week, we should talk about what we're talking about this week, which is Detective Comics 1000, the 1000th issue of the comic book where Batman made his debut, not only into the world of comics, but into the bigger world of pop culture, to become the pop culture phenomenon that he is now. But anyway, everyone knows who Batman is. Everyone knows who what Gotham City is. Everyone knows who the Joker is. This is where this all started, in Detective Comics. So talking about the 1000th issue with me are two of my guests, and you'll quickly work out when I introduce them later on. These two guests I've got, I thought I knew Batman. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a Batman buff. I know some shit about Batman. Yeah, I was quickly like, oh shit, these guys might expose me for not knowing enough about Batman. Thankfully, I think I held my own in the conversation, but I've got two people that are right into Batman, and it's a long episode, so I'm not going to talk too long at the start of this because we've got to get to that conversation. But talking about last week's feedback, I did want to touch on something we got. New friend of the show, one of the first friends of the show, by friend I mean somebody who's sent in to us, so thank you for that, is Jack. Jack sent in a fan theory that he came across after listening to our show about how The Simpsons should end after all these years. Because that's something Mike and I discussed in last week's episode. We spoke about what we personally thought would be a good way to end The Simpsons. Now, maybe controversial how we thought it should end. Regardless, Jack sent the following in, and I thought I'd read it for all of you to hear. The show begins with the family watching Itchy and Scratchy. They announce that the show is coming to an end and there will be a competition to allow a fan to write the finale. The entire Simpsons family applies. Krusty is in charge of choosing the winner. He falls in love with one of the Simpsons' ideas and puts it in the winner's box. He makes the mistake though, and he puts all 5 of the ideas in the box by accident. Don't understand how you do that, but yeah, fair enough. He goes on his show to announce the winner and pulls out all 5 cards out of the box by accident. Stumped, he reads all 5 names out. Homer, Marge, Bart, Lisa, and Maggie. He's making some stupid mistakes, Krusty, but we'll allow it. Flash forward a year later, and Bart is in class describing his take on the Itchy and Scratchy finale to Milhouse. While showing us Itchy and Scratchy, with Bart's voiceover, he finishes and the class is silent. Edna Krabappel is staring at him and says, "After school detention." The scene then cuts to the power plant, and Homer is describing his finale to Lenny and Carl. He finishes, the bell rings, and he gets in his radiation suit. The scene cuts to a supermarket, and Marge is describing her take to Helen Lovejoy. She finishes and strolls Maggie in the trolley to another aisle. Here, Maggie sees the unibrow baby and starts describing her take via waving and motioning. Is this sounding familiar? Can you picture this easily? Because there's a reason you probably can, if you're a Simpsons fan. She finishes and the scene cuts to Lisa. She begins describing her take to Sherry and Terry. She finishes and picks up her saxophone to go to the music practice. She walks in the music room, sits down, and then sees the time. She realizes the show is going to be on in 10 minutes. She plays the Itchy and Scratchy melody on her sax and bolts out. It cuts to Bart. He's writing on the blackboard, "I will not talk in class ever again." He hears a bell, realizes the time, and runs out. Cut to Homer holding plutonium at a conveyor belt when a bell rings at the plant, and he too realizes the time and runs off, dropping some plutonium. Cut to the supermarket and we see Marge and Maggie checking out and running through the exit doors. Cut to a bird's eye view of their home and we see everyone rushing to take a seat on the couch. They look at each other, they smile, the itchy and scratchy music plays, and it cuts to credits. I reckon I might tear up when The Simpsons ends. I mean, I haven't watched it regularly in years, but I mean, if they don't do it in an emotional way, I don't know why they'd bother ending it. That's not a bad one. I don't mind that whatsoever. Thanks very much to Jack, who's no doubt listening right now. Thanks for sending that through, mate. We really appreciate it. That was a great little tidbit to add on from last week's episode of The Simpsons. If you enjoy that sort of stuff, go listen to it in the archives. It's not hard to find. But as I said, Detective Comics 1000 today. But before we get to that, we should talk about our sponsor. Bell Design Co. is back 2 weeks in a row. Bell Design Co. is a graphic design label who are the ones responsible and to thank for our show's logo. Whether you're a small startup or big business, a passion project, or a little old podcaster like me, you need all the help you can get in reaching and expanding your audience for your product. Having professional design logos and branding for whatever it is you are doing is key to making your product as eye-catching as possible in the crowded world that is social media. Instead of going to a large agency where your project will probably be pushed from desk to desk, head over to Bell Design Co. where you'll interact directly with Beck and Estelle through the creation of your logo and branding needs. If you get in contact with them, use the promo code PopCultureReport to let them know Dan sent you for a 10% discount. Get in contact with them at Facebook, Bell Designs, Instagram at Bell Design Co, and email all inquiries to estelle.battalia1@gmail.com. That's Estelle, ESTELLE .battalia, BATTAGLIA1@gmail.com. As I said off the top, we're discussing Detective Comics 1000, which for those unaware is the comic series where the Bat first appeared. Batman. Sorry, the Bat, we're on first name basis. For this episode, I was joined by Jarrod Welsh, who has many years of experience in working in a comic book store. He's also a Chatflix podcast regular, which you can find wherever you get your podcast, probably when you're listening to this one right now. So you can find him there, hear him there regularly. As well as Kieron Byatt, aka Defron, who is a Melbourne-based hip-hop artist who has been featured on Triple J and has played the Big Day Out Festival. Kieron also has written for Comic Book Resources, Supernova, Tone Deaf, Overland, just to name a few. So we're set with two guests who are very, very knowledgeable. The knowledge was key here. Some of the deep cuts and pulls from comic book history. I mean, I was in over my head at points, but I learned a lot, so hopefully you do as well. But I guess, you know what? Let's just go to it. Let's chat all things Detective Comics 1000, the debut of the Bat. Happy birthday to Batman.
Looking at the image, I was like, oh, no, I remember Roger Ramjet.
Because I believe Chris Evans was on the shortlist for Roger Ramjet, and he opted he opted to go for Captain America.
Hook, line, and sinker. Two of us just then. That was impressive. All right, we may as well get into it then. While we're not here to talk Roger Ramjet, believe it or not, we're here to talk Detective Comics 1000, and more importantly, the Bat of Gotham, Batman. Now, Batman turned 80 this month, wasn't it?
Yeah, happy birthday, Batman.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Bats.
Test of knowledge for one of you. What was the actual date that Batman first appeared in Detective Comics? Oh, I thought it'd be hard.
I want to say it's a June. I don't think it was in April.
Oh, really? I thought I saw online the other day it was like this day 80 years ago. Oh, I might have gone a bit hard there.
It would probably be, given that it's the 80th.
I mean, it's the 80th birthday, yeah.
But I swear it. I like just closing my eyes and picturing that cover, that Detective 27 cover.
You can't. Oh, you think
I just reckon it just feels like a June or July.
Hang on, you've got the T-shirt on.
This is 33.
Oh, that's 33. Okay.
Which is, one of the famous covers.
Yep.
But
Kieron's got a Detective Comics T-shirt on. Yep, show the camera. Good. For those listening, it's Detective Comics issue 33, the cover of that, which is just very pretty, very pretty. We're all decked out in our Batman gear for today. I've got my Batman hat, my Batman T-shirt, and then Jarrod's got his DC Comics hat. You're almost like a writer that's come in. You look, you look
like you just got drafted by DC.
It's very,
if only. Call me.
Day.
it's very Scott Snyder.
Hit me up in the DMs.
Yeah.
How dope would it be if, like, DC and Marvel hired writers the same way the NBA signed players.
Just randomly watching podcasts and come across this and be like, the dude wearing the 66 Batmobile symbol, he'd be a good guy.
No, like a dinner room full of just like,
Yes.
sweaty white dudes.
Yep.
And then like in the corner.
Bit puffy in the face. And then their name just comes up on the screen. Yeah, I like that. That'd be good. But, so yeah, I guess, first of all, let's get everyone that's listening might want an idea of why you two, of all people, might be on to help me discuss the Bat. Where did it start for both of you guys? Jarrod, you want to kick it off?
Well, you know what? I honestly picked up I remember distinctly picking up an issue of Detective Comics at my local news agency. And I remember being so green.
Do you remember what issue or not?
It's before 600, so I want to say it's like 597 or something like that.
Yep.
And it's before 89's in the cinemas. I remember that specifically. And I remember being so green at comics thinking, yeah, but is it Batman? Because he was on the cover, but it was called Detective Comics.
Okay.
And I'm like, yeah, but is he in it? And like, it's burnt into my memory. Like the cover is Batman getting punched in the face on a movie screen and like rich, well-to-do people are watching it. And the V of the detective has bat wings.
Yep.
Like I remember the logo, the detective logo. And the short story was... I think it was like a two-parter or something like that. It was roughly like a snuff movie where people were filming fights out in the street and Batman got caught up in it and stuff like that. That's roughly where it started.
So you were familiar with Batman before picking it up,
because like a heavy diet of when I was young, Batman 66.
Yeah, okay.
And
Adam
Super
West.
Friends and just...
Super Friends or Adam West come first? Around the same time.
It's roughly the same time, I'd say, yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah,
And Kieron, yourself?
I think I have like the millennial story of discovering Batman.
Okay.
So everybody who's watching this podcast just tuned out.
Yeah.
For me, when I was young, or I was around 5-6 years of age, I just always remember being drawn to superheroes in general. And I can't remember the exact moment when I discovered Batman, but Batman's always been there. Batman's just been there. And but my earliest recollections are, my dad knowing that I love superheroes and my dad growing up in the 60s and the 70s and him reading Batman and Doctor Strange and Shazam when he was Captain Marvel. And I just remember him saying to me one day, "I've got a treat for you." And I was like, "Oh, what's that?" And then on the TV, daytime TV movie, the Batman 66 movie came on. And I was just completely ensconced with it.
So Dad's flicked through the TV guide and gone,
He planned it.
hey, come and watch this. He's about to have his first wet dream in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was just like, this is amazing. And then I turned to Dad and then I was like, hey, so you said you had a treat for me? Like, what was it? He goes, that's what it was. It was Batman on TV. And I was like, oh my God, thank you so much. And then
Like Dad went and made Batman 66.
yeah. And then
Are you sure it's not you in a time machine gone back to change your history?
and then after that, I remember having Batman Returns on VHS and I loved it and I would watch it a lot. But Batman Forever was my absolute favorite Batman movie as a kid.
Mine too.
Yeah, because it was what I was introduced to. And then it was all just like a big stew. It was like watching Batman Forever, watching the Batman animated show in the mornings. I think it was on Saturday Disney or something.
Yeah.
No.
Wasn't it?
No? I just remember watching it in the mornings. I don't know where it
What
was.
was it
Channel
on?
9.
Was it
I want to
Channel
say
9?
it's Kids WB, but I don't think back then
It
it was
wasn't
called
Saturday
Kids
Disney?
WB.
Oh.
No, no.
Clayface episode's just entrenched in my mind from sitting in front of a TV early in the morning. It was
Which one?
the
Feet
one,
of Clay, the two-parter?
Yeah.
When he's first introduced.
Yeah, with the
Yeah.
topping up.
Because I could have sworn Feet of Clay was pulled because of
What?
the finale of 2, because it was deemed too graphic for children. Because I don't know if
it was great. It
if you
scarred
remember
me.
if you remember the two-parter, like the end of it, he's like full on going into like spasms and he's turning into everyone he's turned in.
Yeah.
It aired.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Well,
it,
I
but-
mean, I think I watched it on TV. I
Yeah,
don't think I
okay.
would have had a
I
VHS or
remember it
anything.
being
on
Yeah,
it.
okay.
scary enough in general, the animated series, that every now and then my mum would be like, that's a bit
Yeah.
frightening for a child.
Because I reckon the first time I saw Feet of Clay is when I've got the DVD.
That one that just
I
came
don't
out.
reckon I saw it. Not the
this
not the
one here,
Blu-ray,
yeah,
but the DVD. Yeah.
Really? Because we're talking about the same episode here.
There was a VHS. Remember they did VHSs of showcases of the villains? Because I remember I bought
Maybe
it
that's where I
because I'd
saw
never
it.
seen it.
Maybe that's where I saw it. That could very well be it. But that, regardless of that episode, like at that age, being exposed to some of the darker themes, because at that point, let's be honest, animated series was probably darker than Forever. Definitely, I would say it was.
Yeah, Forever had some darkness around it. I think, in the Schumacher era of the Batman, people are very quick to bash on it. And
I don't mind. Well...
Forever's
all right.
Yeah, exactly. We all know what film we want to trash on, but I think Batman Forever has its moments.
But
to this day, I think it has its
what
moments.
people don't realize, though, because they're so quickly to judge, like you say, Kieron, but Joel Schumacher is 80 years old now, right? So
happy birthday, Joel Schumacher. Eh?
he grew up
I
on
guess.
66 Batman.
True.
So to him, 66 is Batman. So what he was making was big budget, Tim Burton produced 66 movies.
But there's enough of Tim
clash of
Burton's
styles.
impact in Batman Forever still. Batman and Robin is when it goes kind of off the rails.
Goes full 66.
But Batman Forever has enough of the dark tinge, and but it's also got this neo-noir hyper-colored palette to it as well. But there are things about Batman Forever. I had it on the other day, and there are things about it that I think show me some of my favorite elements of the character, like Bruce and
is that
Alfred.
the nostalgia? Do you think? I think it is for me.
It's a little
personally.
bit of nostalgia, but there's a scene the other day I was watching. It's when Riddler starts sending Batman these riddles, and Alfred and Bruce are, there's the riddle in the middle of the table, and Alfred's sitting at it, and Bruce is pacing back and forth, and what does this mean? And that to me really strikes true to part of the core of the character that I really enjoy.
Talking detective, we may as well get into Detective Comics 1000. Now, we've all brought our issues along.
And it's a clean sweep of Jim Lee covers, isn't it?
It is.
We've all got the
I got
main
my
cover.
I got my alternate cover as well. Did you guys pick up more than one, or did you just go with the one?
I just got my one because I just like looking at all those era covers. I'm like, look, they're all nice.
Yeah.
And there'll be beautiful wallpapers on my phone.
Yeah.
But if I'm going to own one, it's the Jim Lee.
Yeah.
The Jim Lee is hard to go past.
And it's not a cheap issue. It's not like getting to two variants of
so funny.
a regular 22 pager.
I walked in and grabbed two,
coin.
and I was like, I expected it to be a bit, and I was like, whoa, $37 for two. Wow,
Yeah,
okay, I
it's-
guess true. I didn't think about it that much, but
I saw somebody, like a member of a few DC and Batman Facebook groups, and somebody bought 2 of every cover, and I'm like,
I guess one to keep, one to
keep.
You're gonna read
one
of
to
it?
read. I don't know, but just get them all signed. But how many variant covers are there? Like these are just the decade ones.
There were
not-
errors. So
if we assume
30s,
we've got-
40s, 50s, 60s.
So 8
30s?
eras?
Yeah, 30s, 40s.
8 eras, the main one, and then we've got assuming
store
the
exclusives.
store had one exclusive. So let's say there's 7 covers, and he's got 2. That's 14, and they're all. And this is in America. That's like, that's.
But even the
big
store
burn of
exclusives,
coin.
they extended to us too, because King's Comics had a Nicola Scott cover. I don't know if you've seen that. It's
And I'm not
a gorgeous
judging.
cover. It's a lineup of Batman through the eras. So you're you got the Dick
I haven't seen it
Sprang,
in store, but I saw it
It's
online.
a King's Comic exclusive. Yeah. And
that's where I must have seen
Comics Etc. in Brisbane, they're Brisbane based. They had a Stu McKinney cover, which I think were the Gotham City Sirens from memory.
Man, I would really like that. Different eras of Batman cover.
And she did the same thing for Action 1000. She did a
really?
whole lineup of things. And because she'll never get to do it, she said on Twitter, I'll never get to do it.
Yeah.
She did a Wonder Woman one, which
Oh, wow.
is sensational. It's amazing.
That's very
Not
cool.
judging you if you went and bought a ludicrous amount. I'm mainly just jealous that
Yeah.
my cash flow is not that generous to me.
Have you
And
worked in a comic store, Kieron?
I haven't worked, but I've frequented Classic Comics.
Okay, and that's
before
where
it
Jarrod
closed down.
worked.
RIP Classic Comics.
Rip.
In physical form, it still
in the
exists.
physical
Shouts to
form, yes,
classical-
correct.
Shouts to
You
Classic
can go
Comics.
say hi at Supernova or one of the cons.
Yeah.
Is it? I've always wondered. People are so diehard with their comics, and especially landmark issues like this. Is it common that people come in and just buy a heap of the same issue in different variant covers and everything? Like,
Look, on the whole, I'd say the majority get one. But you do get the diehards that are like, I got to get every cover, or I like that like I like Steve Root as an artist. I've got to get his specifically or something like that.
I love the job cover. And
Not often.
Okay.
Yeah, it'd have to be a real hardcore to get everything.
I walked in and grabbed mine, and the guy goes, "Oh, they're all up on the counter. Grab as many as you want." I was like, "As many? Okay, maybe two for a different cover."
I feel
but
like
come on.
some stores, and it's a little bit of the salesmanship. Like they'll be like, "Which extra covers are you getting?" And my current store I go at the moment,
Suggestive upsale.
yeah, and I was like, "Oh, I'm just getting the one," and because I can't really justify.
Oh,
on top of all my other ones. And no, that's fine. Like, they didn't judge.
Okay.
But I think some stores will be like, hey, how many covers do you want? What are you getting and stuff?
So they say it is almost like this is something you need to do. Like, how many
think it's
covers
just-
did you want?
yeah.
Yep. It's
Yeah,
like all
it's
part
just
of the
suggestive.
set.
But to play devil's
Upselling.
advocate, like I would
Here
know
he is, the
working.
comic book clerk himself.
I
comes
would
in.
know working on the other side of that counter is that not everyone who's buying it knows that there's alternate
Yeah.
covers you could
Yeah,
get.
for sure. Definitely. Yeah.
I think that, and there'd be a lot of people listening to this as well that aren't as familiar with comics that
Yeah.
really subscribe to that whole. It's daunting going into a comic book
And they're
store.
Googling
Where do
King's
you
Comics
start?
to find that Nicola Scott cover.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to Batman. Where do I begin?
Yeah,
Well,
definitely.
what Batman do you like? Because depending on what Batman you like, it's going to color.
You know what I would get at the shop more often than not with someone who's coming in wanting to start Batman?
Yeah.
I want to start from the start.
No, you don't.
I'm like, you
no,
want to start?
You,
You want to start in 1939?
don't.
Yeah, I want to start at the start.
No.
you don't. Nobody wants to start that far.
No.
If someone was to say to me now, I want to read Batman, where do I begin? I would chuck them Court of Owls
That's where I started.
or Hush.
That's actually where I first
Court of Owls
picked
or
up.
Hush is what I would chuck.
Hush was my big
Actually,
go-to in the store, only because
It's got
like
all the
may have
rogues
been
gallery.
my
in it.
exactly, and that's how I would sell it to the customers. It was just like it's the quickest. It's the quickest exposure to a vast group of characters. That it's like a greatest hits album almost.
Yep.
You know, it's got Joker, it's got Harley Quinn, it's got Killer Croc, and you go through the list.
And the art as well.
Jim
is
Lee's
modern.
style in
Strong.
that book
Yeah.
is like the quintessential. That's
And-
what a comic book
And
looks like.
and
you know?
from that, I would say to that customer, come back after you've read Hush, tell me what you liked about Hush, and then we can build on that. So if
Yeah.
it were Red Hood that you liked, we could go to Under the Red Hood and so on and so on.
Yeah. That's very true. I think, thinking back now, I think it was either Hush or The Long Halloween, which were my
Yeah.
first introduction, which is another,
Long
as you
Halloween's
said,
another really good
it's
one.
an introduction to a rogues gallery
sure.
of characters, and you get to know a lot of people. You touched on Court of Owls.
Yes.
Let's talk Scott Snyder and Greg
What a-
Capullo.
what a seamless
what a
transition that was.
Hey, we're professionals here. Now, that's the first issue within this. To explain for people that haven't picked it up, this issue consists of, I think is it 10 stories within, or is there 11? I think there was 10.
Yeah.
And then
it's an anthology of short stories.
Yeah, essentially. And so, what are they all? Are they all 10 pages or 11 pages?
Some are 8.
8 pages?
Some feel a bit longer. Deanie's feels a bit longer.
I think some are even shorter, aren't some?
Some are
like
quite-
3 pages.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that Tynan one felt really short.
And then there's the one with Leslie Tompkins. Oh no, that's about 8. Yeah.
Yeah, even the Snyder one wasn't that long at all, actually. But yeah, so when I open this, I love Scott Snyder's writing. I'm a big advocate for it, and especially with Capullo, you can't go wrong. As you touched on, that Court of Owls, the whole run, the New 52 run that they did, was pretty great. Even the Jim Gordon as Batman stuff, I didn't mind.
I dig Jim Gordon as Batman.
I
After
kinda dig
Alfred,
that.
Jim Gordon's my next favorite Batman character. So
Jared, thoughts on that?
Yeah.
yeah,
I love the family. Like, you talk about these characters, they feel like my family, though, Like,
Yeah.
you talk about how much you love Alfred. Alfred sort of feels like a dad to me.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Oh.
It's like,
In the same way, like, Jim Gordon sort of feels like a dad. They really... Like, I've described Dick Grayson in the past to people. Like, he's like my big brother, which is ridiculous for a fucking grown man to say.
Yeah.
But he's like my big brother. He's always been in my life. He's always been, that person that you lean on for support.
yeah. And at this point, you probably know more about them than you do. You do a lot
My
of other
actual
people in your
family.
life. Yeah.
if there's anybody I identify with, Dick Grayson is the character that I identify with, and because he's got that heart, but he's also got that brooding side to him as well. But he's not as
I love Dick
He's not
Grayson,
as 0 to 100 on the brooding that Bruce
Well,
is.
that'll lead us into the Tynan story a bit later. So let's get back to
right.
the
Yeah,
Snyder
so the
story.
Snyder
you were saying,
story.
yeah.
What do you guys think of this one? I personally, talking about sort of grounded detective stories, that's what this one was, I thought.
Do you know what? I think he had the biggest lead in because I think I've read that what is it? The Detective Guild or whatever.
The story title?
Longest case?
The longest case.
Batman's
No,
longest case.
the team that put him all up to it.
Yeah, what was that? They were called...
Says it here.
Yeah, the Guild.
Guild.
Because
Yeah.
I feel like I've read an article that Snyder is gonna do the Guild as a thing. So I think he already went into 1,000 with a massive advantage over everyone else. Now I can set up that story that I wanted to tell already.
It felt like a huge setup, didn't it?
Yeah,
Huge,
well, especially
yeah.
Slam Bradley, because I remember seeing an article recently saying that DC's bringing back Slam
Now,
Bradley.
do you know Slam
No,
Bradley?
no, I got no idea who Slam Bradley is.
You've got to go find Brubaker and Cook's Catwoman because Slam Bradley's in that. Sam Bradley's an old DC Comics character.
How old are we talking here?
Like 30s.
Okay. Oh, shit.
Yeah,
Okay,
like,
yeah.
and he was just like a gumshoe sort of detective,
like a Sam Spade or a Phil Marlowe
spot on.
from
Brubaker
Chandler.
used him in the Darwin Cook run of Catwoman, and he was sort of like this grey area of love interest father figure.
Oh.
It was so
Classic
good.
30s
and like
stuff.
It was, and it was
Are you my dad?
it
or
was
do I
my
sleep
it was really my first exposure to Slam Bradley, but I love this character from that run.
Really?
He's definitely worth.
So it's
definitely
deep
worth
cuts
checking
here
out.
from Snyder.
Oh yeah! As soon as he turned up, I was just like, finally, someone's using.
And of
him.
course, Snyder's the one bringing this back.
But there was a line someone said. Slam Bradley said something about. I can't remember what the line is now, but it alluded to that he hadn't been around for a while, and I'm like, no, he was almost in love with your almost wife.
Yeah. Okay. Shit. I'm gonna have to go back and look at Slam Bradley. I had no idea. Were you familiar, Kieran, with Slam Bradley?
Peripherally, like, knew that he was a character. I haven't read that Catwoman run, but he was aware of him. I thought it was really fitting that, Detective Comics 1,000 is paying homage to what Detective Comics started off as serial, episodical detective stories, and that's what Slam Bradley represents. So I thought that was really, really cool. I was also super surprised because when Detective Comics 1,000, when all of the creative teams are announced, and obviously Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo, people were like, yay, and then, Kevin Smith and Jim Lee, oh my lord, I was so surprised that they led with Snyder and Capullo. I was almost disappointed, just in like a raw,
Really?
sitting
That's
down
so
like,
funny. I was
they're
excited.
leading with like the thing I really, really wanted to read, but I suppose they did
okay.
it for a reason. So I was surprised they led with the Snyder and Capullo short, but
Yeah.
I quite enjoyed it. In true Snyder fashion, and a lot of people kind of criticize Snyder that he's big on conspiracies that get unveiled, like things in he likes to go deep into Batman's mythos, like, Court of Owls obviously are behind everything. There's been this guild that Batman's been investigating for ages, Dark Knight's
Unknowingly,
Metal,
yeah.
Barbados in the background, the puppeteer of Batman in the entire multiverse and the dark multiverse and whatnot. So it's classic Snyder in that sense, like conspiracy and uncovered. But it's just really cute.
Cute.
And there are a lot of stories in DC 1000 that are really cute, but it's
I feel like
it is
cute is an
2019.
offensive.
Is it an offensive
Well,
term?
when you said that, I was like, oh, cute. No, I feel like Snyder might not be thrilled with that. I don't know.
I mean it in the nicest way. Like, it's cute. Like,
It definitely leaves you wanting more.
yeah,
That's for sure.
Yeah, I think it's got an adorable little ending.
And there's like some little quirky bits in there.
Yeah.
Some little exchanges
Yeah.
that are quite fun.
Man, in 2019, any adjective can be
Yeah,
an insult.
exactly. You can make it work. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of liked it. I thought it was, as soon as you start reading Snyder, you know that it's a Scott Snyder Batman. I think throughout this is what's great about this style of issue, this anthology type thing with multiple stories, is you can see all the different voices of Batman quite prominently throughout, some of which are just so outdated. They're just the old writers that they've brought back, and you're like, wow, why is Batman talking like a complete flog from the 60s or something? But yeah, no, I like this one. Again,
I think
Capullo's art is great.
I think the only thing that brings it down is the membership of the guild. I'm sort of like, there's like this massive blurred line between the guild and JLA Dark, and I'm just like, well, which one is it? Like, who's who? Like, how different are you going to make the guild assuming the guild gets its own series, which I'm assuming it will with that lineup. It's just like, isn't this already being done in JLA Dark?
I also
Or
feel
JL
like
Dark?
it's a bit of a slap in the face to, tell us that the elongated man solved this shit before Batman did and entered the guild before Batman did.
I thought
like
that
the
a
greatest
little bit.
detective of all time.
Yeah,
but
I kind of thought the same. I was like,
Elongated Man's in
well,
there.
But
because
then, to be fair, Batman's dividing his time between 5 other titles a week. So
True, I mean,
Elongated
somebody's-
Man's got all the free time he wants.
true. Does somebody want to take us through the cast of characters that we've got?
Kieran, you got it open. Go for it.
We've got the elongated man. We've got the Question. We've got Hawkman and Hawkgirl. We've got Martian Manhunter. I forget. I'm not as familiar. Forgive me. With
Detective Chimp.
Detective Chimp.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with
and
Detective Chimp.
I'm not too sure who that is.
No. Do you know?
I don't know.
You don't know.
If you know who that is,
I'm assuming it's his
Female
wife.
in the red dress.
I'm assuming it's Elongated Man's wife.
Oh, okay.
And they're ignoring.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because obviously she was killed off at one point.
she's just in that page too. She's not in any other part
No,
of the story.
it seems weird to just throw in there. Detective Chimp, run us through Detective Chimp, Jarrod. You seem to be across
A
Detective
talking chimp.
He
who
popped up
is a
in Dark
detective.
Knight's Metal.
That's
I
really
just
all you
forgot his
need.
name.
If you go back and you watch old Brave and the Bold,
Oh yeah, okay.
there's a small little vignette at the start, like
Series,
the little
yeah.
grab before the actual episode. He gets a whole one himself, Detective Chimp.
Detective Chimp.
I mean,
the way-
there's not much to it. He's a detective and he's a chimp. That's it. Like, it's all in the name.
The relevance of being in here, just a bit of
a
fun.
great detective.
The reason I
Super
handballed
sleuth.
that to Jarrod just now is because I must admit, to this day, I confuse monkeys with chimps, and I didn't want to be that dude who's like, Detective Monkey?
Really? Like, surely that's it. Yeah. Well, I
Detective
you know what? I
Chimp,
could have
DC.
even. I could have said ape or something. Yeah. Yeah. I guess that's fun.
I just couldn't recall.
So those characters are what make up the guild for Scott Snyder's story. Again, as we said, all apparently smarter detectives than what Batman
Which
which is quite contradicting.
Yeah, I
hadn't really thought about it until right now. So do you reckon the guild will actually get its own title?
I feel like it will, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I feel like the idea is so realized, it's already worked out.
Yeah, I guess. So, yeah, maybe.
It's such
I guess.
an eclectic class of characters that I'm like, you don't just randomly throw these people
True.
together and not do anything with it.
I think something's definitely going to happen with Slam Bradley. I would.
The only
Yeah.
thing that makes me doubt it is at the end, it's got the little bat that says end and it not. But then also there's a speech bubble that says this is the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it can go either
You're
way.
always only at the
And
very
I think
beginning.
that's a
So if
large...
they're listening to this podcast, they'll be like, go for it. No, hang on. Wait. Yes. No. Go. They sound like they want it. Go.
But I think
won't be listening.
A larger question that kind of goes through your mind as you're reading an anthology like this is how canonical are we supposed to take these little short stories?
That's what I think, yeah.
Are they in the larger canon, or are they just cute little
I tell you what-
homages to the
I tell you what,
character?
there was this awesome Star Wars series. I don't know how long ago it was now. It was back when Dark Horse ran Star Wars stories, so before Disney owned it. But they did an anthology book quarterly that was called Star Wars Tales. And the thing that I loved about it the most was that if you loved a story, it happened. To you, it happened. You know, if you didn't like a story, it's just a fun little story of Darth
Yeah.
Vader fighting Darth Maul, you know, just a fun little thing. I think that's how you go into these things. If you liked it enough, it's canon. If you don't like it, it's just a cute little story.
With the way they treat canon a lot of the times, I think that's fair to
But
do.
I mean, by the same token, too, I think a lot of comic books, you got to read it in the sense that you're overhearing a conversation at a bar.
Yeah, okay.
And it's like a person heard from a friend that something, you know, and you're hearing.
You're
you know,
dropping
mixed
into
messages.
a story halfway through and you just
never
gotta
get the
catch up.
exact truth and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. All right, overall, like the Snyder one?
Liked.
Liked?
Yeah.
Liked?
Liked.
Didn't love? Liked.
Didn't love it. Liked it. Yeah.
3.5 bat signals out of 5.
3.5's not bad, I'd take that. All right, then we move into the next one, which is the
Kevin
Smith and
Jim
Jim Lee.
Which again, as I said before, was very surprised that they were leading with the two ones that I wanted to read in the book. So I was like, oh, I'm getting the two that I'm really looking forward to.
Well, this one as well, because it doesn't say straight up.
I think I was halfway through the first page, like, that's Kevin Smith. Like,
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
his voice.
I did that with the whole book. I didn't look at the teams. I didn't look to see who was writing what story. So I was just like, let's just discover it. Like, let's just learn it.
Yeah.
But it was the bit where I'm not into the cosplay shit. I think it was a comment like cosplay crap.
And there's a
maybe.
reference to a podcast.
And there's a podcast
I was
later
like,
on.
That's
and
Kevin Smith.
a cosplay crap.
Yeah.
I
A
missed
cosplay
that.
crap. I was like, this is Kevin Smith, I think, and then at the
listened to that Rogues
podcast one
Remember
was the cement.
podcast.
I was just like, for sure.
Yeah, I just even thought the exchange between Alfred and Batman in the Batcave, just the way Alfred's talking, he's like talking about the giant penny helping him lug it down.
Yeah.
Like it was just very jovial and
Very
I thought,
meta.
Yeah,
Kevin
it
loves
was
to get meta.
Yeah, it was very. I like this issue, to be honest.
And then
more than I kind of went in a little bit nervous for Kevin Smith's one. I don't know why. I don't know. I probably shouldn't have been, but I liked how it ended. I like what it built to.
Now, for me, it was rough, and to put this in perspective, I bought this on the day of release.
Yeah.
All right, this was spoiled, roughly spoiled on Twitter. I don't know by who, but somebody had said on Twitter, "You'll never look at the bat symbol the same way again." And I thought, okay, that's obviously like it's a distraction or it's a target or something like that.
Yeah.
Which admittedly isn't the newest thing ever, because the earliest that I remember that is Dark Knight, Frank Miller's Dark Knight.
It's specifically, Smith has actually said he was on DC Daily. He was being interviewed by his daughter, which is adorable.
Is it cute?
And he says that it's him paying homage to the Miller portrayal of Batman, saying, I gave them a
Something
target
to shoot at,
so they're not aiming for my head. Yeah. However, I actually have just noticed on the page where Kevin Smith's character Onomatopoeia is shooting.
That was the third signal for me.
Yeah,
I'm like, for sure it's him.
He's getting shot in the chest before he invents the little.
That's what I thought.
So what's going on
but
there?
aren't they all?
Are they supposed to be after?
I'd assume
That's
so.
what
yeah.
I was wondering. I'm like, is this meant to be what happens as a result of how it ends? Because spoilers, the whole story sort of centers around Bruce trying to track down the gun that killed his parents.
Which is so much more morbid than you kind of give it credit. That's tracking down the weapon that murdered your parents.
And am I wrong in remembering that's the gun that Thomas Wayne uses in Flashpoint? He uses the gun.
Yeah, no, I think you're right.
He uses this, or he at least has it in
it's in a case. I think
he does have it.
But I kind of, when I was reading it, to be honest, I wasn't sold until I saw how it ended. So I was like, yeah, okay, fair enough. This is, I guess we'll see where it goes. And then the way it ends is Bruce, like Alfred gives him that fatherly sort of, this is, ridiculous.
Yeah.
Why are you still living in the past and trying to trace down this stuff? And then Bruce is about turning, what does he say? It's something about turning these negative memories or whatever it is, paraphrasing, into
forging it
into something useful.
Yeah.
And then he melts down the gun and forms it into a chest protective plate to go over his bat symbol to help shield him from bullets
by the
and
way,
stuff like that. So
for anyone listening, watching, spoilers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we assume you've read this already.
If you haven't read this, like, we're going
we're
play by play.
But this will have been out for 3 weeks.
Yeah,
by
so
the
at the time this is out, everyone
if you
relax.
haven't read it and you're watching this podcast,
that was your
time
first
up,
mistake.
'cause that's who
If
you
you're
are.
a mail order customer, stop now.
I like that issue all in all. Again, Jim Lee's stuff is always good to...
I think the Kevin Smith was my favorite, at least on my initial. I haven't gone back to revisit the issue, but my initial reaction was that was so sentimentally sweet that was my favorite.
I'm going to say something that might be a little bit controversial. I've never been a fan of the dinosaur in the Batcave.
Some people are really, quite obsessed or enamored with the memorabilia that Batman has in the Batcave, the dinosaur and the penny, and some people was like, oh, what explains them? To me, I've always thought like it's real corny, like it's
feels
a hangover
66.
from like the 60s era. But some people really dig it, so I kind of just embrace that.
Yeah,
that's gonna
it doesn't bother me, but every time I say, I'm like, oh yeah, the dinosaur's in there.
Yeah, the
like
dinosaur's
it's jarring when you see a dinosaur in a Batcave.
Matt Reeves is watching this and
Yeah,
slowly scribbling out.
Note that there is a guy wearing a DC hat in this podcast, so we better take it seriously. All in all, how many bat signals? Go on. Let's do that. That's a bit of fun.
For this one, I'd go 3.5.
Yeah.
It was my favorite, so the most amount of batarangs that you can throw.
Let's go a 5. Let's go a 5.
We
All
said
right.
bat signals up.
Did we?
Batarangs.
Sorry.
I actually prefer batarangs.
Batarangs is good.
Batarangs is dope.
Talking about sort of having the two you were most excited about leading in at the start of this issue.
Yeah.
Surely Paul Dini was, if not with those two, not far behind in terms of people you were interested to read their story.
I sort of forgot that Paul Dini was going to be doing a story.
Okay.
And then
For those unfamiliar, writer of the animated series.
And then again, like halfway through the first page, I was like, here we got Dini. So it was like I recognized his voice.
We got Dini.
I recognized we got Dini.
Yeah, we got the Dini.
Recognized the star. And Dini's what's the graphic novel called?
Dark Knight.
Dark Knight, a true Batman story. One of my favorite
Have you read that then?
I haven't.
One of my favorite Batman tales without being a canonical Batman story. It's through Vertigo, but they had DC allowed him to use Batman. A really beautiful story. We won't go into it in too much detail, but for anyone who doesn't know, Paul Dini survived a brutal assault when he was in the middle of writing the Batman animated series. And the story, it's a standalone story, is about him coping. It's a survival story with Batman representing a part of his subconscious that he talks to and getting through surviving this trauma.
Almost like a coping mechanism.
It's a really beautiful story. It's dark. It's got Eduardo Rizzo doing the art, and it's a beautiful, beautiful tale.
So many people would be, and like we know this, less today than what maybe in the past, but there would be so many people like, oh, Batman, that's kids stuff. But like hearing that's a grown man that it helped. Having that help them deal with trauma within their life. And that would happen in all different forms.
Yeah.
Like everyone's got their things that help them get through everyday life, whatever that may be. And I dare say, given the character, what we know Batman to be, it's a great example of something that it's a strong character. It's a strong, almost like moral compass for people to gauge their own life off of. I mean, not as violent, hopefully, but
but look,
the character of Batman, what he stands for, standing up against wrongdoers and that sort of stuff. Like, why wouldn't you use that to lean on in your moments of hardship?
Not to exaggerate, and even Grant Morrison did this in his JLA run. He compared them to the Greek gods, the Greek pantheon. So
definitely.
I mean, I'm sure some historian would say the Greek gods are a very violent and a dark moral compass to live by, but
people
horses for courses, you know, like some people like Greek gods, like we like Batman.
Exactly.
The era that we're in right now is a lot of people look to superheroes as not just a form of entertainment, but a form of escapism. And I think we've all been on the receiving end of people saying that's kid stuff. Why don't you grow up? And as somebody myself, I'm also into music and I'm also into sport. It's no different to the way that people revere musicians and
or
artists.
idolize a sports star.
And, sports stars like, LeBron James, Steph Curry, they are superhuman to young kids. And the stuff that they can do, like, they can throw a ball into a round circle. But, you watch Steph Curry draining a 3-point shot from beyond halfway on the court. That is superhuman to a young kid, and it's it's, as you said, horses for courses, and
that's exactly right.
Helps people get through life.
Do you know, I love Paul Dini, and he deserves props because he created Harley Quinn, who's surpassed.
For those unaware, that's the creator of Harley Quinn.
I just don't remember this story too well. Oh, it's roughly every.
Neither do I.
It's roughly every Bat family member is acting as a henchman or something. Yeah?
I like
it's
it.
okay.
I like it because I've always been a fan of the mediocre details of superheroism, and I really enjoy the idea of there being this one flunky henchman that everybody's used, and it sets it up well. It's like, there's so much crime in Gotham, and with all these big criminals, there's a whole bunch of people who will just be a muscle for hire if they get chucked some money, knowing that they're probably going to die or get beaten up by Batman at some point, but they're in the life of crime anyway. So
now that you've said that, Kieran, though, that makes me think it's just a version of Almost Got Him.
Yeah.
And I'd rather watch Almost Got Him than read that again.
Fair enough.
Like Paul Dini deserves respect. He's excellent, but
hang on. So for those
that
haven't picked it up, it does. It consists of, there's one henchman that we follow through, and we see each of the rogues gallery of what was his name?
Newt Brody.
Newt Brody. That's So this is Legend of Newt Brody.
Yeah.
That's the story title. And you see this henchman sort of be used by the Joker, Riddler, everyone, all the rogues gallery, and how he single-handedly cost them their great plan, and in the process, they end up being handed over to Batman. Batman ends up,
and then the twist reveal is that Newt Brody is an alias that everybody in the Bat family has worn at one point to sabotage a rogues gallery plan.
I did like that those panels where you see the exchange between the Bat family, where it's Bruce, Dick's. I think it's Dick, isn't it? Yeah, it is Dick.
Again, I found this story very cute.
Cute,
diabolical C word. There's a new C word out there for everybody.
I will allow that cute.
It's
That
a
cute's
cute
fitting.
story.
Yeah, it did. I mean, as you sort of alluded to, like it did feel kind of animated series.
Yeah.
But that's where his strength lies, so that's understandable.
Especially the ending. The ending feels like the end of an episode of the animated series. They're all sitting around the Batcave having a bit of a laugh at the expense.
Having a coffee by chance?
Yeah, I think there might be a bit of steam, but yeah. Bloody Batman drinking coffee.
Riddler's
should never
drinking
happen.
Something. He's drinking whiskey. Fooey.
Yeah, strong stuff. Stuff. Yeah, look, again, that was sort of a forgettable one for me. I'd throw 2 batarangs at it. Yes, we've transitioned to full batarangs now.
I'll give it 3 batarangs.
You know what I'm liking about you, Kieron, is that you're sort of like me in that you're not too harsh. You look for the best in things.
So
Jarrod goes so quiet at points where I'm waiting for him to go wrong.
I try to take the positive out of everything.
Now I
that
try and do the
experience.
same thing.
Now there are some stories, and we're going to get into it, where my batarang bat signal rating is going to dip.
It'll dip
because there's some things that I don't dig as much.
Because you've maintained some standards.
Yeah, I do, Joel, if you're watching or listening. But the kind of, and this is where me and my friend have arguments, I have standards, but I can be selective with those standards depending on intention. And as a creative person myself, I can never wholeheartedly dump on something creative.
All right, next issue we have in this anthology is The Batman's Design, which is by Warren Ellis and Becky Cloonan.
Becky Cloonan, yeah.
I'm not familiar with either of these two.
This
the
is
writer
where
or
my
artist.
batarang.
Well, you'd know Warren Ellis.
Gonna Dwayne.
Kieron?
Yeah, can you remind me where I know Warren Ellis from? No, like honestly, because there's only so many writers and artists that I can keep up with.
He's done a bunch of stuff, Warren Ellis. He did Planetary. That's probably the one that he's most famous for.
What do you guys think of this one?
Do you know what? I just flipped through it as we were talking about the last one,
Yeah.
and I can't remember it. So
No,
I want to give Paul Dini more batarangs than I did.
I
originally.
find this one quite forgettable, unfortunately. Even now, flicking through it and trying to reread it, I think the art is quite beautiful. I like the orange
art's
tinge
nice,
throughout.
yeah.
The art is nice. The story's not horrible. It's just one of those stories, and maybe it's just reflected on me as a reader.
I'm going to say
I'm not sure of what the point is.
It's one of the stories in the issue that I'm looking forward to revisiting because I want to rediscover it.
I'm not too sure of what the point or the catch is at the end.
Well, as you said earlier, Jarrod, it's sort of one of those ones where you drop in to an existing scene where Batman's he's turning up to a warehouse, and he crashes through the window, and there's a gang of guys in there.
The thing that I like is that the monologue reveals that he's been studying this entire gang. He knows all about them. He's got portfolios on them all and case files on them all, which I enjoy that element of Batman. I love the Batman who's tirelessly working and researching, and he's going to beat Superman in a fight because his
attention to detail
been planning for a fight with Superman since the day they met, and deep down, Batman is quite a brutal person, and that's what this shows.
It shows how calculated he is.
Yeah.
With his attack and everything that he does. Everything has a purpose for it. I some of the dialogue was a little bit lost on me, the internal monologue, I should say.
I think the
internal
ending
dialogue
is just too cutesy wootsy, and that's where I will use cute as a negative. It's
You mean that in the Kevin Costner Madonna sense?
Yeah.
Cute.
It leads to, he takes out the whole gang of henchmen and then ends up with the leader face to face, and this is sort of the one Batman says is the leader, but the one that he knows the most about. He's had to put the most time into research.
Is this roughly 4 pages of I want you to tell your friends about me? From
pretty
89?
much?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
But it's
because then he goes into that real brooding, look at me. You can just hear Christian Bale in that moment, look at me, I'm already dead. And I don't understand that. I'm already dead. This is Batman talking, look at me, I'm already dead.
I'm trapped in this place, and all I do is haunt the living. Is that what you want for yourself?
I don't get that
Like
was
I say,
lost on me.
I'm looking forward to rediscovering it.
Give it another go. Look, I don't know. For me, that was a bit of a miss. I'll give that one 2, because I did like the art in it. The 2's mainly for the art.
I'll give that one two batarangs out of 5.
It's a wide battering for me.
It's a wide battering.
A wide battering, yeah.
So does that mean one
back.
wide?
Like cricket.
Yes. Okay. So it's a throw and a miss.
This is actually where the point in DC 1000 where the stories become... We had, 3 kind of warm-hearted positive spins, and now the Warren Ellis one's dark, the next one is dark. We get some darker takes on Batman and Bruce.
Which is a great gear shift.
Yeah, and it's what you want. You want that all different...
They can't all be 66.
No.
Yeah, you want all the different taste buds on your palate satisfied at some point.
Yep.
Would, just as we flick through this, and we were talking about it earlier, an introduction to Batman, would you go as far as giving something like this to somebody that wanted to get an idea of Batman in comics?
DC 1000? No.
Because they're too short?
I think there's too much prior knowledge is kind of required to enjoy a lot of these tales, I think. I would give them an annual, probably. I would probably give them an annual, but I don't know if I'd give them DC 1000.
Okay. It's good to know. So anyone listening that's thinking, I might just pick this up and jump in there. Maybe don't.
Because, who's Leslie Tompkins to somebody who's never read Batman?
At the $10 US price point.
I'm gonna put it out there. I didn't know who Leslie Tompkins was.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I probably have come across her, but I can't.
You definitely would have in the animated series.
She recently...
Yeah, okay.
She recently came up in... So, the road to DC 1000...
We've changed issues here. Sorry, so we're on to the next issue.
Return to Crime Alley. In the lead up to DC 1000, there's been this
Detective Comics 1000.
Yeah, sorry, Detective Comics 1000. I keep saying DC 1000. Detective Comics 1000.
People are sitting there going, "Oh my god, is that
They're
what
talking
DC?"
about another book.
Wait, DC Detective Comics? Oh my god!
So Tech 1000, as Kevin Smith has said. The lead up to Tech 1000 in the Detective Comics run has been. Batman was fighting this shape-shifting monster that was targeting all of Batman's, adversaries. So Leslie Tompkins turned up.
Yep.
So if you go back to probably Detective Comics, 990 forward before reading this, that might give you, because it was preparing you for it. This is probably a good time for anybody who's a little bit confused, as I was at one point. What is the difference between Batman comic and Detective Comics?
Great. Let's talk about it.
I think Jarrod is a very good person to turn to here.
Because a lot of people, as you alluded to when you were young, you were like, wait, it's called Detective Comics. Is Batman in it? I don't get it.
And there's 5 other different Batman titles.
Every writer's going to have their own spin on it, but roughly the Batman is roughly considered to be the superhero comic, and the detective is more family-based and story.
Mm-hmm.
Or detective-based, but it depends on the writer. And that's
depending on the writer and what they want to do, But roughly, you would have been exposed to Leslie Tompkins through the animated series on Positive. You would have. Roughly, if we're talking in shorthand, she's Batman's mum.
Yeah,
she's the lady who takes Bruce in after the murder, and
that's where I sort of got a little confused, to be honest. I was reading this story it goes into quite a mother and son relationship, and they talk about how she took in Bruce after his parents were killed, and I was sort of sitting there going, I thought he was just with Alfred.
Yeah.
So there is a large part of that
Alfred
that's
and
missing
Leslie
for me.
are mum and dad.
Yeah,
I don't think Leslie has had a cinematic portrayal in the Batman films. I don't think they've ever done
films.
No, I don't think they've done Leslie Tompkins.
Yeah, so as for anyone unfamiliar like I was, it is essentially what is Batman's mum after his parents are killed.
She's a therapist, and she helped him through.
And
so that makes sense.
Yeah.
God, she didn't do a very good job.
No,
did she?
Shit
With Bruce Wayne,
therapist.
shocking
Like,
therapist.
I think they call it enabling.
Shit therapist at the end.
But then, and
such a downer of an ending.
Not only did she not help him after his parents were killed, he still became screwed up as an adult. But she just really paced him about bashing up thugs that tried to.
She calls him Bruce in front of a group of freaking hoodlums. Like, come on, son.
I didn't even register.
Got to be a lot of Bruces in Gotham City, though.
Oh,
the big
man.
city.
It's like that moment in Justice League where there's like at the start, the thief is right there, and Batman's like, Alfred, what's going on?
Yes.
It's like, dude.
I know, how many Alfreds? I mean, come on.
But you said before, Dan, certain writers, you were like, why is Batman talking like such an old fuddy-duddy? This one's written by...
Denny
O'Neil?
Yep, Denny O'Neil.
And there's a bit where the hoodlums are putting on Halloween masks.
Yes.
And I think one of them, I'm not even going to look at it. I'm just going to go from memory.
Go with memory.
It's something like, ooh, I'm a monster.
Yep.
And I'm like, without reading the credit, I was just like, this is an old creator.
It was definitely. This
Look
is where
at me. I'm a monster.
Yeah, is that what it is? Okay.
Yeah.
One thing though I noticed was like the art in this. I really like. You see this page here. I think it's page 4.
The spread of.
Yes, with Batman sort of overlooking the memory of his parents being killed. I don't know why. When I turn that page, that's what I love about comics. Sometimes you turn a page and you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that the end panel of that was quite fitting as well, given that it's Batman standing over lying bodies in... Are they in Crime Alley here? I think that's the idea. They're in Crime Alley.
Return to Crime Alley.
And it's this sort of dark sort of... She's saying, look at what you've become. You're almost... It's meant to be... At least my understanding is you're sort of what you hated all those years ago. You're standing over these strewn bodies across the street, which is, again, they don't say it in as many words, but visually it's quite easy to pick up because a page before that, you get the splash panel of Martha and Thomas Wayne being killed. So, yeah, I don't know. One of the darker stories.
It is an element of the Batman mythos that I like in that he created a monster and now he has become a monster. And lots of different stories, you know, some stories focus on humanizing him and some stories focus on the darker side. How many bat signals, batarangs are chucking its way?
I didn't mind this one. Look, to be honest, on the first read through, I was like, yeah, that's fine. But flicking back through it now, I'm kind of remembering, I really enjoyed that panel there. And, look, I would... A 3?
3.
I think a 3.
Throw 3 batarangs at it.
I didn't love it initially, but having talked about it and all the stuff that you just brought up,
it's
I'm
funny
like,
when you flesh it out a little bit more.
It's a bit better than what I thought it was.
Jarrod has hardly picked up his copy of 1000. He's just going off the top of his head. This is impressive. All right, cool. So that's Denny O'Neill's Batman issue within this anthology. Moving on to the next one.
Christopher Priest's with Neil Adams. Neil Adams, a bat god among Batman artists.
You can, as soon as you see Batman by Neil Adams, you know straight away. It's also the colouring, I guess, of his typical Batman, but just the design, you can tell that it's Neil Adams straight away. And even, this is another one where I want to talk about the feeling of it feeling very old and outdated. The dialogue in this, which is strange because Christopher Priest isn't that old on a creator that honestly it would have a voice. I went back, I flicked back to the start because I thought, wait, did Neil Adams write this too? I thought exactly the same thing. Yeah, it's very Neil Adams in terms of the tone of Batman, his dialogue, and obviously the look. The look of Bruce Wayne, the curls, like this sort of wavy hair, very. It takes you back to like a.
It's dangerously Clark Kent for me.
It is. You put glasses on him and it's very Clark Kent.
Yeah.
But I do think that, Neil Adams stuff, I've seen so much of his old stuff where this feels quite modern. A lot of like the Gotham City police officers in that first page where they're leaning against the car. Like it looks quite updated, but it's just the characters.
The inking is very heavy as well. Like the silhouette's very thick.
So this story, remind me, what happens in this? I read this one last night.
This is the one I remember the least, I think.
This is the most forgettable. This is probably my least favourite of the stories.
It was a bit convoluted for me.
I struggle to say what it's about. He investigates a murder, racial...
From memory. I mean, sorry, Kieron, I don't mean to talk over the top of you, but I think it wanted to explore.
It's Bruce Wayne, to start, with Jim Gordon investigating a crime scene. So it's not Batman, which is what threw me first. Go ahead, Jarrod.
I think the point of it was to explore how deeply Batman will take a case, that he'll travel the world. Right? He's not just centered in Gotham City. Like sometimes he'll go over to meet Ra's al Ghul and whatnot.
Yeah.
And Neil Adams co-created
in the 70s,
or Raish, or however you want to pronounce it.
I didn't know that.
Let's go Raz, because Nolan said Raz.
Yeah.
Animated series said Raish.
Ra's al Ghul.
I've heard Neil Adams say Raz. So
Raz?
But I know people will jump on my back if I don't say Raish, but I've always said Raz. I've said Raish here because I'm honestly petrified. I am terrified.
If we said two things to edit, give him a Raz and a Raish.
If we say all of them, we touched on it at least.
Yeah.
A forgettable story.
Unfortunately.
For me, it was a little hard to follow. I'm the first to admit, sometimes you pick up a comic and it can be quite hard to follow. And that's what a lot of people say when they're new to comics as well. They're like, oh, what's happening?
And the concept is a bit repetitive because at the end of the story, it says the beginning, ellipsis,
Yeah.
which is, we already had that in this special. We already had that with Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo right at the start. So that actually makes me wonder, how much awareness did the artists and writers know of what everybody else was doing story-wise? Would you have been given, okay, so someone's doing a story about this, someone's doing a story about this, in terms of like...
You would think so.
Hopefully, right? But I mean, there's a repetitive.
But to play
note
devil's
there,
advocate with it, I think it's got a very 70s theme to it.
which is the
Right?
point.
And the whole point of the book is to celebrate 80 years of Batman.
Yeah.
Not that we get a 30 story, but that's off topic. I think, the point of that was to tell a very 70s style story.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. All right, well, that one for me, look, two Batarangs, just because it's Neil Adams and I feel like I should be somewhat kind to Neil Adams. But
two.
I'll throw it to it. Again, forgettable. I still can't really tell you what happened in it.
Yeah.
Jarrod?
Yeah.
Oh, he wants to give a one.
Yeah, I want to give it one, but I
Yeah.
think I'll give it two because it had a writer and an artist on it at least.
For anybody who doesn't know what 1 to 5 batarangs or stars means, for me, I always imagine what Empire do with theirs. So I think it's like 1 is poor, 2 is okay or average, 3 is good, 4 is great, 5 is classic.
Yeah, I think we gave out a 5 earlier that probably didn't deserve it's not a classic piece of comics. But yeah, not true. I reckon.
I
agree
think
with
I've
that.
given out a 5 yet, haven't we?
I think you and I might have given. You said it was the favorite in the issue, so it was 5 within context.
Okay,
yeah.
okay, cool.
Moving on to the next one. I'm going to throw this out there. This might have been the one that caught me the most, and I kind of really dug.
This is probably one of my favorites, if not my favorite in the entire Landmark.
So are you familiar with this creative team through Daredevil at all?
No.
Okay, so
Who is the creative team on this one?
Bendis and
Oh, it's
Maleev.
Michael. Yeah, that's right. That's right. It is. It's Michael Bendis.
BMB.
Try and track down some Daredevil. If you liked this,
I didn't know Brian Michael Bendis did Daredevil.
if you liked this, you will absolutely love
Great.
Daredevil.
I
Yeah.
really, really enjoyed this.
This was really fun.
You
This
first met with
but dark as well.
it took me to Logan, Old Man Logan, straight away. I was just
Yeah.
like, Old Man Bruce. All right, this
Old
is
Man
cool.
Bruce.
See, I went beyond.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did also do
this is
that.
beyond-
There was part
it's
of
beyond because he's in a wheelchair.
well, and you're also got Old Man
Penguin.
Penguin, Cobblepot.
Yeah.
And they're on a cliff front out the front of what I assume is Wayne Manor, but I also think it might not be. I think there's.
I think it's. Is it like?
I think it might be in an institution of some
Is it
kind.
like the elderly wing of Arkham?
Yeah, because it sort of says they said that you don't talk anymore about Bruce Wayne, so it implies he's within care of
These
some
two
kind.
chumps here, they do look like orderlies of some kind.
Hopefully, people have their
Chum.
Detective 1000 open in front of them and flicking through. The first page I really love. Again, I love the coloring of it. It really
Double
has
page,
that.
splash, beautiful.
Doesn't
yeah.
that take you back to Returns though? That double splash.
Oh, of course, especially
Like I thought he
even
was
their little outfits.
literally jumping into Batman Returns in this.
It's called I Know, again, as we said, by Brian Michael Bendis. I really liked how this is being retold. Sort of, you flash back through memories of Cobblepot's, of his time and working out who Batman is over the years. And his whole premise of doing this is wanting to tell Bruce Wayne, I always knew you were Batman.
But he didn't reveal it because he figured that the only reason he was surviving was because of Bruce.
Yeah.
Bruce was keeping him safe because of his relationship with Bruce as, a businessman.
Which isn't an original idea. I mean, what's going to be original in 80 years? Because Hush roughly touched on this, that the Riddler knew who he was, and Batman, the whole point of Hush was, well, what's the value of a secret if everyone knows what it is?
Yeah.
And there's that fan theory that's run around for years and years, is that the Joker knows, he just doesn't care enough. This is the Penguin that you were talking about earlier, Kieran. Is
The
that
mob boss
the
Penguin.
one that we don't get, not in mass media anyway.
He's
Like-
not a caricature.
Other
is he?
than in the video games, other than in the Arkham video game series.
Yep,
But
granted.
that's still kind of cartoonish, but I do enjoy that they make him English and they make him working class English. And this is the Penguin that I want to see. If the
film.
rumors are true, if he's going to be the villain in the Batman, that's the Penguin that I want to see.
You know what's funny about this Penguin, though? You're talking about this being the Penguin we want to see. You see panels of him as that, not classy, I don't want to call him classy, but that mob boss. But then you also...
aristocratic.
Yeah. But then you also definitely see panels where he has the design of the Tim Burton Penguin. He starts to have that
Very
drawl
much, yeah.
and that sort of animalistic, like real disgusting look to him. So that's what else I like about these sort of issues where they try and nod to all the past incarnations of the characters. I really like this issue. I'd give this. I'd give it 4 personally.
Yeah,
I thought it was
4 batarangs. 4 bat signals.
I really enjoyed it. So it's memorable. This is one of the few that we've been able to go to, and we've all gone, this was a good one.
Sticks out.
And we all remembered the story straight away.
Yep.
So good signs for me for this one.
I'll give it a 5 off that.
Give it a 5 off that. There
There
we go.
you go.
If you're giving it a 5, I'll give it a 5. Let's all have a bit of fun. Moving into the next one, which is by Jeff Johns as the
My
writer.
favourite comic book writer.
A great comic book writer. And Kelly Jones is the artist on this one.
And Kelly Jones was a regular on Batman, I want to say in the 90s.
Okay.
And I was reading...
On Batman, not
On
Detective?
Batman,
Yep.
yeah. And I was reading back then, but reading with not an appreciation for Kelly Jones. Like, I read now, and I'm like, I miss Kelly Jones.
Yeah,
like, I
it's
wish I
definitely-
could rediscover it. So with this creative team, I'm super amped.
Yeah.
Jeff Johns, like my favorite writer. Kelly Jones, an artist I've missed for years.
This first page, I was captured by it straight away. I was like, whoa,
Straight away,
there's
I'm
a
like,
lot happening on
Straight
this.
away, I'm like, Damien's too big.
Damien's huge. Damien is
that
meant to be a
supposed to be
child.
Damien?
I thought
That's
that was
Damien.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Because he calls him dad.
Oh, yeah, right. Oh, yeah, let's be grateful for that, Damien. Oh, there you go. That just shows how much I kind of forgot this story.
What I wanted to ask here, who is... I assume it's Batgirl in this? Who is that?
Echo.
Echo. So I'm not even familiar with Echo.
Okay, so this story is all in the future.
Okay.
So that's why Damien's so old.
Okay, because
That's why
Damien's jacked as.
Catwoman and Batman are seemingly in a relationship
Yeah.
and seemingly have a biological kid.
Yep.
I actually thought her name was Hope Kieron without flipping through it, but what did you say it was?
Echo.
Echo.
It definitely
Echo,
was
but
Echo,
Gotham's
yeah.
not
So
crime
years
free.
and years and years ago, like pre-crisis we're talking, which is pre-80s,
Hmm.
Batman and Catwoman had a daughter.
Yep.
And that was the Huntress. And that was Helena. Helena, I think, would be the perfect name for this character in this story.
I don't know if I like
But
Echo.
he's gone for an echo, which I am assuming is a play on the word in that she's echoing Helena.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And is this supposed to be Ace?
That is Ace.
That's
Are you
Ace.
familiar with Ace?
No, I wanted to talk about Ace,
Ace,
which
the
is
bat
the
dog.
Bat Hound or
Bat
whatever
Hound,
you
yep.
want to call
I
it.
love Bat Hounds, though.
Walk me through the Bat Hound. Where does this?
I'm not familiar with
It's got to be.
Ace's
It's got to be
origin.
50s, and
It's
50s is
older.
when they
Because
really.
they all have a dog or
Yeah.
a pet, don't
50s
they?
is when they blew up the family. So
Yeah.
you had Batman and Robin already, but then they blew it up to Batwoman, Batgirl. Commissioner Gordon was their dad, obviously. I say dad, but that's in the shorthand term.
Yeah.
But the whole family unit, the nuclear family unit with a dog.
Wow.
Like Superman had a dog. Superman's got Crypto. Batman's got Ace.
Because I'm now
roughly
I'm
that.
getting caught up on the fact that looking at Ace, did you say?
Yep.
Yeah. Ace here, he's got a utility belt as his collar, which is isn't that just cute?
That's cute.
Very
Yeah.
It's adorable. It's very cute.
Yeah.
This issue, does anyone remember it off the top of their
I
head?
kind of...
So
it's the last crime of go on.
It's Batman. Roughly, it's Batman teaching the next generation how to solve a crime. Mm-hmm. Roughly, we meet the son of the Joker in it, which had you wouldn't be too familiar with.
No.
It. Yeah. Roughly touched on in Brave and the Bold animated series. He had an episode as well. Son of the Joker. It's all in the name.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then as we get to the end of the story, we find out it's a birthday wish or something like that. Is that right?
Yes.
Something to
yes.
do with a birthday candle and a birthday wish.
Yeah, a happy birthday says at the end of it. So
Yeah.
yeah. Yes, the whole point of that story was to ram home the family theme.
Yeah, I think Johns does a good job. I'm gonna have to revisit this one in terms to appreciate it.
Yeah, off the top, I think. Look, I could probably give it 2 stars. It was good, but I needed to have another read of it to really
I'd give
appreciate it. I think.
Yeah, I'd give it 3.
Is that because it's Jeff Johns? And you're like, it must have been good. I must have missed
th-
something along the line.
I don't
that's
understand
kind of it.
it.
Yeah, I think it's more like there's if this isn't being enjoyed for whatever reason, it's definitely on me and not on the creative team.
I imagine. So, Jared, you were
think I need to
excited going into
revisit
it?
Massive high hopes having seen that creative team, and I like you expect a little bit more from
Yeah.
Jeff Johns. I like the sentimentality of it, and yeah, it's 3, but I think that's a biased 3.
All right, next issue we've got
Precedent.
This
Oh.
is the Tynan story.
Yeah.
which one?
You flipped too far forward.
Oh, did I?
Yeah, it's small. It's 1, 2.
Oh, I did too.
3, 4, 5 pages.
Yes, I did
This
too.
is roughly a Dick story.
Yep. Sorry. Does anyone want to take this one?
I
It feels weird to have a. Yeah, it is quite a Dick story. Isn't
I thought it was charming. It essentially just talks about. It's at the point where Bruce is deciding whether or not to have Dick as Robin, and talking about the precedent that it will set. You know, having a young kid in this dangerous line of work, and you know, we have a little bit of flash forwards in terms of Alfred saying what Dick represents. He could be a better version of you. He could be the light Batman. You know?
I'm remembering it now.
So I think this is it's short, it's brief, but I think it's done really well. It's an homage to the idea of the boy wonder.
Yeah.
The idea of the Robin, because there's so many now.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot based on, you sort of touched on it, that it sort of shows the importance of needing a Robin to Bruce Wayne's Batman, and vice versa. Batman, they both provide each other with the perfect balance to help each other get through what they do.
And the whole point of Robin to begin with is so Batman's not standing around on rooftops talking to himself. So this is just real world explained it in that he's the almost like the Jiminy Cricket, the conscience of Batman. You know?
Yep.
This I loved, but it's an incredible cheat because it's about Dick Grayson. So I love Dick Grayson, so I'm in. I love it.
Yeah.
I really liked it, but again, I don't know why.
That page is gorgeous. I mean, that really is a beautiful.
Just
beautiful
a sort
page.
of
all the stuff that celebrates Dick. Yeah,
it's such a small story, and there's so much packed in. Like this page here, where you've got a montage. You've got Wonder Girl. You've got Arsenal. You've got Wally, and then in the back there at the top left, you've got the death of Dick's family, and then on the other side you've got Bruce and Dick staring the rogues gallery of Gotham in the face, and there's a lot packed in. I think
it goes a long way in, for me,
packs a punch.
Helping. If somebody said to me, God, it's stupid that Batman has a kid with him, like that's so dumb, and also like what sort of responsible adult would ever do that? Like I feel like you could give that little dose and go, have a read of that. And it sort of gives a little insight into why it's not that ridiculous, why both are able to give the other one something that they're missing in their life. And especially there's Batman and Robin, but you do get a little insight into Bruce and Dick and the troubled background that Dick comes from, the sort of bonding that Bruce has and the connection he feels to Dick based on the fact his parents were taken from him at a young age as well. So he takes him into...
He can make him a better him.
Yeah.
And the reason that Batman needs a Robin is for two reasons. Like one, he grounds Batman and he grounds Bruce. And then also, which is the darker interpretation, is that Robin's cannon fodder.
Yeah.
He sends Robin in, and that's why he's dressed in bright colours.
He's the canary.
Yeah, he's the canary. Like, they're distracted by this kid, and he's a kid. From Batman comes in a plume of smoke from behind
just
and
before
takes
they
you all
can
out.
do it. Yeah.
So and that's, I like that, but it's dark. Like he's sending this kid
it is dark
into the front lines.
I give that one, I give it a 3.5. I liked it.
Yeah, I'd give it a 4.
Liked it.
I'd give it a 4 for sure. Yeah,
I'll give it a 3, but it's a cheat 3 because it's about Dick Grayson. It could have been Dick Grayson standing behind a white background, and I would have loved it still.
Yeah,
so
okay, fair enough.
Oh, actually, no, I'll put it down to a 3.5.
Totally biased.
Just because I can't put it on par with the Penguin story.
No.
So I'll put it on a 3.5.
Yeah, no, I'd agree.
Yeah.
All right, let's go on to the next one. We've got to start pushing through these. We're going long here, folks.
We are going deep.
So the next one is by Tom King. It's called Batman's Greatest Case.
The current writer of the main Batman book. And
current artist too? Tony S. Daniel?
No, they go through a lot of different artists.
Yeah.
Tony S. Daniel is one of my favorite Batman artists. I love this one.
This one was really good. So they've all been asked to meet on a rooftop within Gotham.
Yeah.
And they're all waiting on Bruce to arrive. And they're all speculating where could he be? Like what does he want us here for? Is somebody getting kicked out of the family? That sort of stuff. And again, the interactions between the Robins is great.
Yeah,
they're all
that's
quite
great fun. Yeah.
really good fun. And you see the cutaways as the dialogue continues of Bruce. He's like visiting his parents' grave. And it's sort of what I took away from this was it gives you such a good idea as to the family. People say that Batman should work on his own or whatever. A lot of people would say that. Yet he's got this really quite close-knit family.
Yeah.
They're all really close. They all know each other so well, yet the one person they don't know that well is the one that brought them all together, which is Bruce. And you see them all having speculation about where he could be. What could he be doing? What could he want to see? They don't know him. After all these years, they all don't know him still.
Gorgeous. It's probably the best double-page spread.
Yeah, it's
in
lovely.
The whole issue. Although, because of
Spoilers, Bruce
The first
turns
thing
up
I
in
thought
the-
straight away was that's a poster.
Yeah,
They're
definitely.
selling
But
that
also,
poster.
because of the spine, like, Bruce's face is really difficult to see in terms of in the book itself.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame.
Yeah.
Maybe Tony Daniel's got an Instagram that you can.
I
Yeah,
reckon.
I've seen
See
it.
the-
I have seen it, yeah.
Yeah, really liked this one.
Beautiful.
To be honest, I'd give it 4.5.
I'm going to give
Batarangs.
this one...
Was he gonna go with
the
the-
only 5? I'm going to go with the 5 because I love Tom King. And I love
I'll go
this.
5 on the strength of the captions,
Yeah.
knowing full well who's talking
talking.
I'll
without,
go
without
5,
the.
and it's the penultimate story in Tech
It's-
1000. It's the second last one.
You know what? It really does scream of a guy that's very much in the world of Batman at the moment.
yeah.
He is the current Batman writer.
Tom King's run, I highly recommend.
He's on top of it. And then there's the issue we come to at the back. Now, is this actually meant to be? No, it's not long enough, I don't think. I was going to say Detective Comics 1000.
So
This
that,
is to be
that's a
continued.
Tomasi story, right? So that's all going to build into what Tomasi's going to do post.
Yeah.
1001. And the way
But
that they...
this one was a real example of the celebration of 80 years. I
Yes,
think.
absolutely.
Like we had all the splashes, and it's a beautiful
shirtless
looking
Batman.
story. Yeah,
whilst teasing what's next to come, because
Yeah,
comics are never ending. And also it's what they did with Action Comics 1000, which was the first comic book of all time to reach 1,000 issues, and this is the second.
Yep.
And they tease what's to come. So it's almost a trailer. So it is designed to be...
a bit like a teaser trailer. That's well put.
Yeah, it's designed... This whole thing is designed for people who love the character. It is designed for people who are not familiar. However, some of the stories they might not get a lot out of. And this, celebrates the past. It's got this beautiful single page, poster illustrations, celebrating all of his key jewels and key moments and key storylines, which a lot of people will enjoy. And then it sets up something to come.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
a nice big tease at the end there.
And that rounds out Detective Comics issue 1000.
And so-
All in all, thoughts?
Well, how many batarangs were given to that last one?
I mean, as you said, it's a tease of what's to come. Given the winks and nods to the past, like 3.5.
Yeah, 3.5.
It's solid for me because it's Tomasi. I think Tomasi is one of the strongest writers going around at the moment. So whatever I give is going to be biased. So I won't give anything. But he has the disadvantage of what Snyder had in his advantage in that he gets to set up something as it's roughly the same idea is that they're both setting up stories, but I feel like Tomasi had a disadvantage of what he had to do to get to 1001.
Yeah, okay.
And Snyder had something.
Well,
a bit more
there's
realistic.
no expectations with what Snyder's doing. It's just this whole different thing that he's got going on the side, whereas this is the new
But you know what?
lead.
As a whole, and I did love it, and I love Batman, so it's easy for me.
It gets an easy pass. Another one of
It's
Jarrod's
an easy
easy
pass,
passes.
yeah, for sure. It's a cheat. It's a massive cheat.
Yep.
But I did feel like I got so much more out of Action Comics 1000 than I ever did from Detective 1000.
Yeah.
Almost to the point where it felt like we really have to try with Action 1000. We really have to tell stories. Batman's going to sell itself. So just do what's expected.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you think something was missing in 1000?
I personally thought there could have been more interaction with Jim Gordon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Did you think the same? I thought maybe a little bit of that was missing. I would have liked a bit more of that because I do love their relationship.
Yep.
You saw glimpses of it,
Yep.
but they weren't. It was nothing. There was no Jim Gordon and Batman story.
That Neil Adams story, he was in it.
Yeah, but that
it's
was
not
it.
enough.
That was your
He's in the
taste.
Jeff Johns, Kelly Jones, but it's
You
not enough.
see him-
There was no Black Mirror story. There was
Correct.
no Gordon-centric story, and that's what we'll miss.
Now,
I think that's what I missed.
I've got a friend who loves Jim Gordon. He loves Jim Gordon like I love Man-at-Arms from Masters of the Universe. Like, he loves... Jim Gordon is his favourite character.
Okay.
And I got a message from him when he read 1000, and he was just like, don't you just feel like it's missing a Jim Gordon story? And
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah, for
it
sure.
does, it does.
It is, yeah.
And the whole point of the book is to ram home that family feeling, because there was a story about mothers, and there was a story about sons, and so on and so on and so on. So Jim Gordon is the father figure that you would do the story of.
Yeah, I think we can agree though. There was probably a a Jim Gordon story missing
Yeah.
in Detective Comics 1000. But all in all, we gave a few of us gave it an easy pass, given that it's
I'll
Batman.
give it 3.5 bat signals.
Yeah,
out of
I
5.
don't think I'm going to go picking it up any crazy amount of times and
Yeah.
rereading it.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I'll give it a 3. It'll sit nice. It's a nice cover. It'll sit lovely
Yeah.
on the bookshelf.
And the reason it exists is it gives people the opportunity to have these conversations and these moments. It's
Yep.
about celebrating Batman.
But you know what it is?
80
Like,
years.
ultimately what it is it's a tool to sell more comics
Yep.
by showing you this extended family.
Yeah.
So that somebody takes that home and says, I've never met Leslie Tompkins before. I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
And then goes into their retailer and
Yep.
says, what can you show me? You know?
Yeah.
So on and so on. You meet Robin, you meet all those other stories is intended to expose you to the greater mythology.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, look, I'm pretty happy with Detective Comics. I'm glad it exists. As you said, I'm glad it exists so we can have conversations like this and talk about the Bat of Gotham, Batman, because let's be honest, we love Batman.
Yeah.
And without Batman, where the hell would we be? I probably wouldn't be doing this podcast.
What would we be talking about?
What would we be talking about if we didn't have Batman? Guys, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having
Thank
us.
you. Thank you.
Well, there you have it. Detective Comics 1000. Reviewed, dissected, discussed, and most importantly, fanboying of the Bat has taken place in today's episode. And hopefully you enjoyed it. Whether or not you're a comics fan or you're just a Batman fan, you prefer the comic book movies or whatever it may be. Hopefully you found something today that made you go, that was interesting. I didn't know that. Or, oh, that's bullshit. Disagree with that. Or kind of like that opinion. That was a good one. Or maybe you're somebody that goes, I've never read a comic. Maybe I'll pick one up. And it sounds kind of like these guys were into it. Maybe I could be into that. Hey, we're learning what the idea of the show is. We're all learning stuff about pop culture. It's very fun. Thanks again to my guest, Jarrod, who you can catch. You can find him on social media at Jazzatron5000 on Instagram, or catch him on the Chatflix podcast series, which you can find wherever you're probably listening to this one. And Kieron, aka Defron, who you can find over at his website, mrdefron.com. Don't forget to subscribe or follow our podcast on whatever platform you are listening on. And if you are on iTunes, leave us a rating and a review. The more ratings and reviews we get, the more visible we become to new listeners. So that's always going to be great. The more people listening to this, the better. You can also keep up with our show through our production label's social media accounts, which is Facebook, Cheeky Leprechaun Productions, or Instagram, @Cheeky Leprechaun. That's it for this episode of the Pop Culture Report. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed yourself, and we'll see you back for episode 3. Chat then.
This has been a Cheeky Leprechaun production.